Hi, if you want to watch exclusive content with hot girls that is not on YouTube, namely, where Naruto roasts Kushina Mikoto and many other hot girls without restrictions, then visit my channel Busty and subscribe. By the link in the description. Chapter 1 The Mission. There were 5 people walking along the path toward their destination. They were all silent. For the most part, they maintained constant vigilance in case anything out of the ordinary happened. There were 4 ninjas leading a man who was fully engaged in his mission. The leader of the group was a honing of silver-haired, one of the most famous ninjas of the Hidden Leaf Village. Kakashi attacked, behind him, his. On the left, there was a pink-haired kunoichi named Arino Sakura, and although she tried to hide it, the 4 others in the group saw her glancing at the boy she had a crush on. He was to the right of Kakashi. His name was Uchiha Sasuke, the sole surviving member of the Uchiha clan. His dull eyes gazed from a constantly moving from side to side. Then, bringing up the rear, was the loud-mouthed Jinchuriki, Uzumaki Naruto. His hair. The blonde hair was pointed in random directions, and was only kept out of his eyes by the issue that all the ninjas wore them on some part of their bodies. In the center of the group was Tazuna, the bridge builder of the Land of the Waves. He was their mission, the reason they were there. I still can't believe I stumbled upon him. Sasuke, Naruto said, staring intently at Lukia. He felt their gazes fixed upon him. Sasuke looked at the blonde man, his neck pointed at the back of his head. What are you looking at, loser? The Uchiha asked. Laziness and Sakura quickly turned to Naruto. Stop staring at Sasuke too, you faggot! She yelled, and Tazuna. He flinched at the annoying voice. Naruto, stop causing trouble, Kakashi said without turning around to defend him. Innocent boy, Naruto sighed at his team's behavior. It was nothing new to him. He already knew the fox. The demon he carried within him, though his 2 companions did not. Kakashi, on the other hand, secretly harbored resentment towards him. Naruto knew it for a fact. Sasuke was an idiot, and Sakura was always trying to win his love, and if that it meant being a bitch to Naruto, for God's sake, why would I do that? Screw my life, Naruto thought, and continued. He walked along, looking at each member individually. Let's stop here to catch our breath, Kakashi said. Suddenly, the 3 genin fell to the ground, happy. We have to keep going. The sooner we get back, the better. Better, Tazuna said, looking around anxiously. Relax, old man, we're tired, Naruto said. He lay back and felt a couple of withering stares directed at him. Respect, Kakashi murmured. Naruto looked up at the sky and he sat up suddenly at the sound of a kunai whizzing through the air. He watched as his sensei was struck by it. Multiple kunai with explosive markings. Sensei! Sakura shouted as they were thrown backward by the explosion. Naruto crashed into a tree and groaned as he got to his feet. Sasuke. She reacted quickly and grabbed Tazuna before the explosion could hurt him. Sakura emerged from a bush, thorny with small cuts on his arms and legs. Damn it! Sasuke muttered as he dropped Tazuna to the ground and she was running ahead of Naruto, and Sakura joined her. Suddenly, 3 figures emerged from the trees and they landed right in front of the trio. To them, they looked like a Chunin training team from the land of grass. Naruto scratched the back of his neck. As he drew a kunai to attack, he asked, Why the hell are the grass ninjas here? And they didn't answer at all. Let's go with them, Sasuke-kun, let's get rid of them, Sakura said, her voice trembling slightly. A little, Sasuke growled, drew several shuriken, and threw them without hesitation. They whizzed toward the enemy team, who jumped to dodge the metal projectiles and launched a barrage of kunai at the Team 7. Sasuke and Sakura dove to one side and Naruto quickly blocked all the kunai that they threatened to beat him or head towards Tazuna. I have to protect the old man at all costs, Naruto vowed to himself. He leaped into a tree and launched himself from a branch. He swooped down toward the grass ninja team and extended his hands like if he were to dive. The metal kunai pointed at one of the members and Naruto began to spin. The 3 enemies jumped out just as it crashed to the ground, and before they could react, a bomb exploded. Smoke exploded and covered the area. Kaibunin no Jutsu. The green smoke cloud was dissipated by a white cloud and when she disappeared, 20 Narutos stared at the enemy team. Let's go, bitches, he said mockingly and he prepared to fight. Get out of the way, loser! Sasuke shouted as he ran through the crowd of clones and pushed Naruto to the ground as he ran towards the grass Chunin. Sakura followed closely behind and he stuck his tongue out at Naruto, who hissed. Useless team, he thought as he sat and watched his team fight Sasuke. She pulled out 2 kunai and began fighting 2 of the ninjas while Sakura desperately lunged at the last one. Trying to look cool in front of Sasuke, Naruto, and his clones winced in pain when the grass ninja. She spun around and her foot slammed into her face, sending her flying. Without warning, one of her clones leaped to the side and caught her before she crashed into a tree. She moaned, the clone released her, and she winced in pain. The action, damn you, Naruto, he cursed and went to join the fight again. Naruto shook his head and watched Sasuke fight his 2 opponents. The black-haired boy threw a. He punched one ninja and as he ducked, the boy spun around with a roundhouse kick and punched the other ninja in the face. Naruto watched as the ninja jumped a couple of meters and stopped. Sasuke refocused on his other opponent. Without paying attention to the grass ninja who stood up, Naruto saw that the grass ninja had a kunai in his. The blonde man cursed in anger. Sakura was being overwhelmed by her opponent, and he made a decision in a fraction of a second. Alright, go! Naruto shouted to his clones, Sakura. He ducked to dodge a punch aimed at his head and saw a grass ninja about to stab Sasuke. On the neck, he did the only thing he could. Sasuke screamed. Sasuke turned around and saw the grass ninja's arm moved closer to his face. He had no time to react, and just as the kunai it was about to hit him, 11 boots struck the teenager's head. Sasuke watched as Naruto and his clones. They landed effortlessly and he looked at him. Pay attention, Naruto said and turned to see his other clones fighting with Sakura's opponents. Shut up, loser! Sasuke yelled and blocked a kick from his opponent while Naruto. She ran towards hers. Sakura was startled by the sudden appearance of Naruto's clone, but she was grateful. She was relieved that the boy had appeared to help her. She watched as the clones began to attack the man and After this, he collapsed unconscious from the attack. He turned and saw Naruto and Sasuke fighting their opponents. Naruto ducked under a kick and sent his foot straight toward the teenager's chin, the toe of his boot. It slammed into the teenager's chin and sent him flying into the sky. That's when Naruto used the. This was an attack he had practiced with his clones so many times. The first clone bent down, and another jumped off his back. It continued, and soon there was a perfect line of Naruto in the sky leading to the boy, and they all rose up and they sustained themselves with chakra. Naruto ran and began jumping off the backs of all his clones and rose higher and higher. The air, and while pouring incredible amounts of chakra into his feet, he leaped high into the air from the back of the last clone. As he rose, he saw the teenager watching him as he made a hand seal. Again Kai? Bya no Jutsu, 2 clones appeared beside him and grabbed his arm and leg. They spun around quickly and they launched themselves at their opponent. Damn! The teenager muttered as Naruto's fist connected with his face and sent him flying. Back on Earth, several Naruto clones awaited him. They all raised their fists, and just as the teenager landed, they rushed at him and threw him into the air. His body flew past Naruto and the blonde boy smiled as he did several somersaults and fell stomach first into the air. All his clones gathered together. And they caught him, and he felt several of them rise in puffs of smoke as he crushed them. Naruto dispelled them just in time. As the teenager crashed to the ground beside him, the blonde looked over and saw Sasuke unleash a combo. Brutal against his grass ninja. First he punched him in the face, then he dropped to his hands and feet, and he spun around, sweeping the boy's feet aside. When the boy got up, Sasuke jumped, did a quick somersault, and he slammed his outstretched leg into his stomach, sending him crashing to the ground, where he lay motionless. Naruto looked towards where her other clones had struck Sakura's opponent. She rolled her eyes. They treat me like a __, and yet. That saved his skin, he thought, and Sasuke glared at him. Don't you ever interrupt one of my fights again. The Uchiha yelled at him, and Naruto rolled his eyes and walked toward the stunned Tazuna. It was then that a whirlwind of leaves appeared. Kakashi appeared before him and stopped him in his tracks. Bastard. Naruto cursed and glared at his sensei. Well done, guys, all. They all did well, except for you, Naruto, Kakashi said, looking at Naruto with his one eye. What the hell did I do? Naruto shouted angrily at the silver-haired man. You rushed in without thinking and didn't let your teammates. They would figure it out on their own to see how much experience they had and what they should be working on. Besides, you didn't even think. In protecting Tazuna, what if there had been a 4th enemy? Kakashi asked. Naruto looked at him and replied. Simply put, then you should have brought your annoying ass down here. With that, he walked past the annoyed Hunin and helped Tazuna to his feet. "Loser!" Sasuke muttered as usual. "You're in the way!" Sakura exclaimed, walking over and standing next to Sasuke. Besides, she was a test to see how they would react if I were killed and you, Naruto, acted recklessly. "You must think no matter what the circumstances," Kakashi said, shaking his head at the blonde boy. Tazuna sighed as the team attacked the boy. He looked at the blonde man once more and understood his hidden sadness. Naruto continued walking, ignoring the icy stares that he felt directed at his back. "I hate my team," he thought solemnly as he walked. "I hate them," Sasuke thought, as she stared at the blonde boy's back. "He's so annoying," Sakura cursed in her mind. "Why did they put him in my place?" "Team?" Kakashi complained. They had been walking for almost an hour when suddenly, Naruto sensed that something was wrong. He turned and looked at his team, who were watching him indifferently, as if he said, "What do you want, loser?" He was about to roll his eyes when he heard a faint noise that his sensitive ears picked up on it. He acted with a speed that astonished his team. In an instant, he threw a kunai at a tree and waited for an enemy to fall, but was surprised to see that a simple branch. He broke away. He looked at his team, who were glaring at him. "Loser!" Sasuke muttered, and Naruto didn't bother to. The blonde boy turned and started walking again. He was already next to Tazuna when he heard the whistle. He quickly dropped to the ground, grabbing him by the shoulder, and pulled the old man down with him, just as they touched the. As they stood on the ground, a large sword plunged into the tree beside them. Naruto begged, leaped to his feet, and drew a kunai, while the rest of her team did the same. "Is this another test, sensei?" Sakura asked as she watched. They looked around him in bewilderment. "No, this is real, stay alert," Kakashi said. As he looked around, a low chuckle came from a tree above. Naruto watched as a figure detached itself from a branch and landed on the sword. Naruto stepped back a little. He walked over and looked at the man in front of him. He was wearing baggy black pants and no shirt. He had very muscular muscles. They were clearly defined, and Naruto knew instantly that he handled the sword perfectly. Around his jaw, bandages. They only revealed the upper part of her face. On her forehead, a headband was crooked, and her black, spiky hair. It hung to one side. "Team 7, watch out!" Kakashi murmured, and 2 of the 3 genin nodded. Naruto already knew. He realized the precaution was for Sakura and Sasuke, so he focused his attention on himself. It's the famous imitator. From Kakashi!" Zabuza exclaimed, twirling his sword and leaning back on the hilt. "Zabuza, the demon of the mist, you're a missing nin of rank A from the hidden mist village," Kakashi said as he made sure that his 2 students were behind him. Naruto watched as Zabuza pulled out the sword that was stuck in him. The tree was quite deep. Without effort, Naruto immediately took up a defensive stance against the ninja. "Naruto, don't fail us again, take care of our package," Kakashi yelled, and the blonde sighed angrily. "So why? What am I not supposed to help with?" he asked, and Kakashi simply replied, "Because Sasuke, Sakura, and we can handle this fairly easily," he said, and Naruto glared at him. Naruto gritted his teeth. He grabbed Tazuna's hand and pulled him away from the fight. He ran about 20 meters before stopping and watching the fight unfold. With interest, he wants Sakura to fight instead of me, screw me, he cursed himself and watched as Zabuza took the first step. The ninja of the mist ran towards Kakashi with incredible speed. Amazing, and while threatening to strike and decapitate Join, he suddenly turned and lowered his sword towards Sasuke. Naruto watched as the raven-haired boy froze when Zabuza unleashed a wave of killing intent. As he lowered his sword toward the teenager, Kakashi acted without hesitation and appeared in front of Sasuke, holding the Zabuza's sword flicked with his kunai. Kakashi drew his leg back, knocking Sasuke aside and leaping out of the way. He walked, allowing Zabuza's giant sword to crash into the ground. Naruto felt the ground. It vibrated slightly from the impact and he winced. If that had hit someone, they would have died. Naruto looked at Kakashi, saw that his kunai was cracked along the blade. Cobwebs slowly made their way through the weapon until it cracked, and Kakashi dropped the now useless weapon to the ground. Naruto watched as Zabuza. He chuckled softly and rested his sword on his shoulder. Then I see this will be like a game of cat and mouse, huh? Said the ninja of the mist, forming a simple set of hand seals. He drew the manuals faster than Naruto had ever seen anyone do before. Zabuza finally clasped his hands, raised the. He looked and smiled, Kirikiri no Jutsu. Suddenly, the mist began to seep in. He slowly emerged from the forest and covered the area, making it almost impossible to see. Naruto grabbed Tazuna's hand and he moved closer so he could whisper in her ear, "Listen, I'm going to put a clone on you, don't move, understand?" He asked and felt Tazuna nod. Naruto formed a cross and whispered softly, "Kaibyu no Jutsu, a clone." It appeared out of nowhere, and the mist swirled around it. Naruto made the clone cling to Tazuna before he slipped away to join the fight, not because he wanted to protect anyone, but because it was his duty as a shinobi of Konoha. Naruto crept forward through the grass and closed his eyes to concentrate. He heard a whistling sound. He was approaching. He jumped out of the way as the area where he was standing exploded, hurling chunks of earth everywhere. Directions. Naruto saw mist swirling around Zabuza's body and cursed. He ran towards his. He went left and crashed into something. "What the hell, Naruto?" Kakashi yelled and Naruto jumped up quickly. "What are you doing here, loser?" "You're supposed to be guarding the package," Sasuke said. Naruto rolled his eyes, angry. "I should be the one fighting here," Sakura said. "No, Sakura, she's so weak, she's pathetic," said Naruto, and he heard Sakura growl angrily. "Stay out of the way," said Kakashi and pushed. Naruto stood to one side. The blonde boy clenched his fists, drew a kunai, and held it in front of him as Kakashi bowed. He walked slowly towards Sasuke. "Hey Sasuke, could you cheer us up a bit?" he said. "Jounin," and Sasuke smiled smugly as he performed a quick set of hand seals. He took a deep breath and released his attack directly in front of him. Fire release, Gaku no Jutsu. The fireball lit up. The blindness vanished, and he roared away. The fog quickly evaporated in the heat. After a few seconds, Naruto finally, he could see his own hand and looked at his team. They were staring at him, but he ignored their stares and turned to. They met Zabuza, who watched them with indifference. "It's taken you long enough, losers," said the ninja of the fog while doing a quick backflip and landing softly in the small lake that had. They were close. Naruto watched as Zabuza began forming hand seals and snapped the last one shut. Water release. Mizunomuchi, a whip of water rose from Zabuza's side and swirled to all around before charging and accelerating toward the team. Naruto and Sasuke jumped out of the way as Kakashi raised a kunai and tried to block the attack, but he wasn't so lucky. The water whip struck the kunai shattered into two ends that entangled the jouning. Kakashi realized the danger too late, and the water whip knocked him back and flew towards Zabuza at astonishing speeds. Zabuza raised his fist and he punched Kakashi directly in the face, sending him flying through the air. Meanwhile, the silver-haired man. He was flying, the water whip still holding him, and when he was about 200 feet high, it pulled him down and it crashed against the surface of the lake, sending huge waves flying in all directions. "Hee whip," he muttered. Zabuza watched as Kakashi emerged from the water. The man was spitting and his clothes were soaked. The idiot cursed Naruto and Sasuke grunted in annoyance. They watched as Zabuza performed a few more hand seals and couldn't hear what he was saying. But suddenly Kakashi was inside a water bubble from which there was no escape. Zabuza looked at them lazily before speaking. "Hey, your __ is in my water," said the mist ninja, and Naruto sighed. "You are too old for that, dude," the blonde muttered, and Zabuza chuckled. "Actually, I'm only 23 years old, but I'll take it as a comment anyway." "Rude," he said, and Naruto shrugged. "Like I care, go shove it up your ass with your stupid expletives." "Words," said Naruto, getting into a fighting stance. "Ha, you think you're so?" Zabuza began. "Do it!" Naruto shouted, and Zabuza stopped talking. "Do it now, you bastard, bring me a kunai and I'll do it for you," Naruto shouted, and his team looked at him in shock. "Kid, I'm going to kick your ass," Zabuza said, while holding his sword in front of him. "Well, I'm going to kick your foot sideways," Naruto muttered and ran towards Zabuza. He reached the lake shore when he realized two things. First, he still couldn't walk, much less fight in the water. Second, Zabuza's attacks were based on water. Well, this isn't going anywhere. "Feel good," Naruto murmured as a large ball of water crashed against him. Water release, Suirama, Naruto. She fell to the ground, stumbled backward several meters, and finally skidded to a stop. She groaned and slowly stood up. Looking at Zabuza, who was obviously smiling triumphantly, Naruto inserted the. With his hand in his pocket, he pulled out a kunai and ran towards Sasuke, preparing to fight. "What do you want, loser?" he said. The Uchiha looked dark, and Naruto rolled his eyes. "We need to work together to get out of this mess," he said. Naruto, and Sasuke shook his head. "I can do it perfectly well on my own," he said, pulling out a huge shuriken and throwing it at Zabuza. He turned towards the man and Naruto watched as Zabuza simply stepped aside and let the shuriken pass by without harming him. Sasuke smiled, abruptly withdrew his hand, and the shuriken changed direction and he whizzed towards Zabuza from behind. The ninja of the mist turned and cursed. While jumping to dodge the weapon, he lost focus on Kakashi's water prison. The Joing fell to the. He was coughing and spitting on the surface of the water while Zabuza watched him with interest. Let's see if I can give him a taste. A beating for Kakashi, muttered the mist ninja, waiting for the John to prepare to fight. Kakashi got. He stood up slowly and looked at the genin. "Good work, Sasuke. Take care of everyone. Besides, since Naruto doesn't know how to do it, I'll take care of everything," that said. At this, Kakashi reached out and removed the eye potion, and Sasuke gasped at what he saw. Sasuke had the Sharingan of his clan, and Kakashi was displaying it as if he were an Uchiha. "How the hell?" Sasuke began, but Kakashi. He interrupted him. "Another story for another time," the Joun said, watching as Zabuza began making hand seals. Sasuke watched as the two ninjas began to fight and turned to Naruto. "Did you hear what Kaka said?" Sasuke skidded across the ground and stopped when Sakura fell to her knees and hugged him. Sasuke looked up. Surprised, he saw Naruto staring at him, his fist outstretched, his eyes blank. Naruto yelled, "Sakura!" But Naruto ignored her. "Loser, how dare you hit me?" Sasuke yelled, and Naruto shrugged. "Well, if you want to do whatever you want, I'll do it," Naruto said, and Sasuke jumped up in fury. "What the hell are you supposed to do? Does that mean? Loser, why do you think Konoha has ninja teams? So that can work together and complete a mission smoothly. If they had wanted someone like you to act, they wouldn't have put you on a team by yourself, would they?" Naruto shouted, and the Uchiha. He looked grim. Not everyone is on a losing team. That was all Sasuke could think. Yes, if they are on a mission where stealth and large numbers weren't an option, even Itachi was on a team, it ended. Naruto knew that would affect Sasuke more than anything else. "Don't you dare say his name again. My brother, you piece of shit loser!" Sasuke yelled and was about to hit. Naruto stopped when Kakashi's voice interrupted him. "Sasuke, don't waste your time with him. Focus on the task at hand. We'll deal with their actions later." Kakashi shouted as he created a water dragon, just like Zabuza. Naruto. He watched as Sakura and Sasuke calmly walked away towards Tazuna, who had witnessed the entire ordeal and had. He stood next to Naruto. "Poor kid," the old man thought. "Screw my life." Naruto sighed furiously and began to. He walked toward his team, even though they weren't actually there. As he walked, he sensed a sudden presence and looked up into a tree to find someone hiding among the leaves. The person realized that. He saw her and was about to do something when she shrugged, winked at him, and kept walking. The person in the trees saw her lips move and knew she was speaking to him. "Do what you want," was that all she said before walking away? Naruto chuckled to himself. If his team was going to be this hard on him now, he supposed they'd have to accept the consequences. Consequences? He heard the ninja he had ignored acting quickly and interrupting Kakashi's battle. Zabuza had managed to land a blow on Kakashi by using the technique again. The hidden missed and hit him with a water dragon. Naruto watched as several Enbin stopped Kakashi while he reached out to use some kind of attack. The suns had hit at every point on Kakashi's arm, which numbed and rendered it useless. Naruto watched as the figure he saw. He climbed down from a tree and landed next to Zabuza, grinning widely. "Oh, bitches, you're dead, Midaku!" The ninja from the mist laughed, and Kakashi jumped back in concern. "Master, we can't fight anymore, we have orders." "Let's go," said the ninja, and Naruto studied their features. They had long hair and black braided hair and shorts that looked like a skirt. The shirt hung over the shorts, making it look a dress, but that wasn't what caught Naruto's attention the most. No, what really stood out was the mask that they wore. It was pure white with 6 red vertical stripes running across it, and a pair of horns that They emerged from his forehead, his eyes were a bright yellow, and Naruto shuddered at the grotesque sight. Zabu laughed between teeth when Aku grabbed his shoulder, and they disappeared in a swirl of what looked like mist, but Naruto watched how it shone before fading. He sighed with relief. That threat was gone. He turned and began to. He was walking when suddenly he heard Kakashi's voice, which stopped him in his tracks. Naruto, you're in serious trouble. So, you did it, to hell with my life. Naruto thought for what seemed to be the 10th time that day. Chapter 2 Training. Naruto walked as a team, staring at the ground. He had been punished. Just as that idiot Kakashi had said, his punishment was to carry the suitcases of everyone traveling with. Both going and returning to the land of waves. Naruto grunted and moved the suitcase on top so it wouldn't fall to the ground. Sasuke, hearing his growl, smiled in his usual somber and rather serious tone. Stupid. Kakashi turned and looked at Naruto for a moment before ignoring him as before. Screw my life, he thought. Naruto, as he stepped over a fallen log, his limbs twitching in protest, his resilience, although high and seemingly endless, it didn't favor him at that moment. Hurry up, Naruto, Kakashi said without realizing it. She turned around and began to sing, left, right, left, right, left. Right, good for nothing team, Naruto muttered, and Kakashi turned his head slightly to look at Naruto. What was that? The Jounin asked, and Naruto turned and looked at the passing trees. That? I thought, Kakashi said, turning his head. Hurry up, Naruto, we're almost there. Sakura angrily turned to the blonde boy. Oh, could you shut your mouth, Naruto? She began. There it is, Tazuna shouted. Upon seeing his village appear, Naruto grumbled and watched as the other four sped off, leaving him behind. They had walked through the village, and Naruto was shocked to see the villagers' condition. There were children sitting on the street corners begged for food, while others rummaged through the trash. Naruto saw a small child running in front of him. He was seen while a shopkeeper listlessly threw something at him. Naruto closed his eyes and looked away, but he always looked at the same sad scenes. He saw some people leaning against the walls, covered in flies. Lying on their heads, he saw many children trying to steal things from people, and when he saw one succeed, he encouraged a young boy, hoping they could get some food or clothing, but to their surprise the little boy ran up to a woman in a torn and dirty dress and handed her the stolen item. She smiled at him and kissed her forehead as she went into a shop and sold the item. When she came out, she had 4 loaves of bread and he gave 2 to the boy who danced away. Naruto watched as he passed other children who looked about his age, and without hesitating for a second, the little boy tore off pieces of the loaves he had and shared them with them. Poor children, Naruto murmured sadly and continued walking. Yes, although it wasn't always like this. He suddenly heard Tazuna say beside him. What happened then? Naruto asked as they left the village and began to pronounce a oath. Cat arrived in the land of waves and began to rule the village, Tazuna said angrily, and Naruto nodded. So you have a really bad bully? The blonde boy asked, and Tazuna chuckled. Yeah, if you want to call him such a small name, he's a damn bully, if you want my opinion. Tazuna. He cursed, and they walked in silence for 10 minutes. So why aren't you with my team? Naruto asked. Suddenly, Tazuna grunted. I told you how to get to the house, besides everyone they left behind, so I came to help you find your way. I also wanted to talk to you, Tazuna and Naruto said. He raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Naruto asked, and Tazuna waited before speaking again. The way they try, why do you put up with it? The old man asked, and Naruto sighed softly. Well, I've put up with that attitude my whole life, you know? I'm cursed. Naruto began, and Tazuna nodded. The nine-tailed fox, you've heard of it, right? Naruto asked, and Tazuna touched his head, thinking for a second. Oh yes, the demon thing, yes. I've heard about it, why? Well, when I was a newborn, that thing attacked my village, but thanks to the 4th Hokage arrested her. Well, they didn't beat her or anything, they just sealed her up in a baby. That baby would be me, so ever since, the villagers believe that I'm the Kyubi Kitsune and they treat me like a __. Kakashi is one of them, and Sasuke and Sakura are just. Naruto is. He remained silent, unsure what to say about them. 2 little punks with a log up their ass, Tazuna and Naruto said. She burst out laughing. Yeah, something like that. she exclaimed, and they saw Tazuna's house appear in the. They fell silent upon seeing three figures waiting for them in the doorway. As they approached, they saw Sasuke and Sakura staring intently at him while Kakashi watched him with his one eye. Naruto stopped about 5 feet away from them and she dropped her backpacks to the ground. When the dust cloud cleared, she looked at them and then at her team. "Pick up your things," she said. He said, and he and Tazuna walked past them and went into the house. When he went inside, Naruto looked around the beautiful house, he said. Well, beautiful to him. He looked at the dark rosewood walls and the elaborate designs on the roof. He followed Tazuna, who showed them the house and then took them upstairs to where they would stay. He placed them all on. They went through different rooms, and when Naruto saw his, he sighed with relief. It was a simple room, but it had a bed and a dresser. That was all she asked for, a comfortable bed and a dresser. She dropped. She put her bag on the floor, flopped down on the bed, lay down, and enjoyed the softness of the mattress. She didn't know how much. He was there for a while, because suddenly he heard the door open, looked up and found Sasuke standing in the door. "What do you want, Sasuke?" Naruto asked, and Sasuke narrowed his eyes. "How do you do that clone technique?" "Shadow?" demanded Sasuke, and Naruto stared at him for a minute before laughing. "What's wrong with you, loser?" Sasuke yelled. "You're so stupid it's not even funny," Naruto said. He lay back down. "Don't ignore me or I'll beat you up," Sasuke said, taking a step forward. "So you want to see how to do them?" Naruto said darkly and made a cross, Kaibunin no Jutsu. Sasuke slid down the wooden wall and fell to the ground in a heap as Naruto's door slammed shut in his face. "Damn annoying bastard," Naruto said and lay back down on the bed. Sasuke stared at the door in a state of shock. He had to have that technique. Naruto knew Ilukia wouldn't give up so easily. He wanted his technique, and so. God, I'd get it. Well, as long as Naruto mastered it. Flashbag no Jutsuijin. Naruto muttered. "Sandaime, okay, this is an awesome technique. Look what I did to him." "To that traitor!" Naruto cheered, raising his fist in the air. Sanda asked me again. "Can you do this technique, Ajisen?" Naruto asked. His large blue eyes stared impatiently at Lookage. "Naruto!" the Okage shouted, and Naruto narrowed his eyes. He looked at his eyes and scratched his head. "What?" said the blond boy, and the Okage sighed and pinched the bridge of his nose. Thoughtfully. "Well, as I was trying to explain, the Kagebunin is a forbidden technique. No one can use it because its effects," Sarutobi said, and Naruto's blue eyes opened again. "So I'm the only one who can use it," exclaimed the blond boy and was about to start dancing when the Okage raised a hand to stop him. "No one else can use it, but not to its full extent like you. But as I said, Kagebunin is a forbidden jutsu and the forbidden jutsus can be learned and mastered. If you master Kaibunin, you become its master, which this means you can teach it to whomever you want, and if someone wants to teach it to someone else, they must ask your permission first. He understands that in other cities this rule doesn't apply, but here in Konoha, any Konoha ninja who wants to learning this jutsu requires asking for it, and if someone other than those who already possess the skill uses it, they will suffer the consequences of losing his title," Sarutobi asked, and Naruto raised his hand. "What? So what's going on? Are you saying I'm practically the god of this jutsu?" Naruto asked, and Sarutobi nodded. "And what, can I teach it to just anyone?" Sarutobi chuckled and went back to. He nodded. "And can I take away people's privileges?" Naruto asked. Sarutobi stopped laughing and looked at Naruto, who was smiling innocently. "Well, yes, I suppose so," said Sarutobi, and Naruto. He nodded happily. "Now that you've mastered the technique, you can achieve this," said Elikage, and he pulled out a red scroll. "Normal size, what's this?" Naruto muttered and picked up the scroll. "Well, it's the Kagebunin scroll. It has been extracted from the Forbidden Scroll and placed here. To claim the mastery, you just have to sign it in blood," Sarutobi said, and Naruto quickly unrolled the scroll and he bit his thumb. He signed with 13 fluid strokes, and the parchment glowed for a second before returning to its normal color. "So that's it?" Naruto asked, and Sarutobi nodded. "That's it. Now use this power wisely," Sarutobi said, lost in thought. "What have I done?" Flashback without final jutsu. Naruto. She went to her backpack and began unpacking her things. which weren't many. She had a spare orange jumpsuit, some. He wore black shorts and an orange t-shirt. He also had some weapons and at the bottom of his backpack he found the red scroll. Well, I should keep this for now. Damn Sasuke, Naruto. He cursed. He threw the parchment onto the bed and the now empty bag into a corner. He took his black shorts and orange t-shirt and changed his clothes. When he finished, he put the parchment in the. He went into his pocket and left his room to meet with his team and see what they had to say about the incident. As she was going downstairs, she heard a voice coming from a room to her left. She looked and saw that it was. He peeked through the crack and saw a small boy sitting on a bed crying. Naruto frowned. Frowning, he pushed the door open wider and entered the room. The boy stared at Naruto in shock. Hey! Who are you? The boy said and started sobbing again. Naruto raised an eyebrow. He approached the bed and sat beside the boy. Is your name Uzumaki? Naruto asked, and the boy breathed deeply, still sobbing. My name is Inari, said the boy as he wiped his face. Oh, your grandson spoke of. We saw you when we brought you here, Naruto said, and Inari nodded. Then why are you crying? Inari bent down and looked toward the. I closed the door before speaking. I went upstairs and that boy, the one with black hair, pushed me against the wall and when I cried, he called me baby. Son of a bitch. Naruto cursed to himself and he stood up. Come on, we'll take care of it, he said, extending his hand to the boy. Inari looked at the hand and then at Naruto, grabbed it, got out of bed, and the two went downstairs. When they entered in the kitchen, Naruto discovered that only one woman was there, and he tried to remember her name, but he couldn't. He could. Is she your mom? Naruto asked the boy, and he nodded. Does she know what happened? Inari shook her head and Naruto grunted. Hey, Miss Inari, I'm going for a little walk, Naruto said, and the woman? She turned around, startled. Oh, it's just you. Tazuna said you were here, but why not? Did you go to the forest with your team? They said they were going to train, the woman said, and Naruto shrugged. Well, like I said, Inari and I are going for a walk, Naruto said, and the woman laughed. Oh, please don't call me miss, she added. It makes me feel old. My name is Tsunami. Where are you going, guys? Tsunami asked, and Naruto looked at Inari and then at his mother. It seems my teammate was quite harsh with Inari, so I'm going to go talk to him about it, Naruto said, using air quotes. Tsunami's eyes widened in surprise, and she looked at Inari. Looked away. What happened? What did he do? Tsunami asked, and Naruto grunted a quick reply. He pushed Inari and then called him baby, just because he didn't get what he wanted from me, Naruto said, and Tsunami squeezed with. He gripped the wooden spoon he was holding with more force. Okay, then I'll go back to dinner, he murmured and refocused. In what he was doing, Naruto wasted no time and left the house with Inari in tow, heading towards the only area in the forest where a ninja could truly train. Naruto carried Inari when they reached the edge of the forest and he hoisted him onto his back. The boy was startled at first, but Naruto chuckled and continued into the forest. Hopping over logs and rocks that stood in their way, it took them a good 15 minutes before they arrived. Kakashi went to the clearing where his supposed team was doing their exercises. He watched as Sasuke and Sakura. They were trying to climb trees without using their hands, it seemed. Naruto saw that before Sasuke fell out of the tree. He would make a cut that would mark his progress. Naruto saw that on both trees the cuts slowly made their way up the trunk. Naruto was angry about being excluded from the exercise, but there was no way around it. His team was full of idiots. She left the forest and entered the clearing, drawing the attention of Kakashi and Sasuke. Sakura noticed that they were looking at something, and then she spotted Naruto standing there with a small child on his back. Naruto, what are you doing here? Kakashi asked, and Naruto glared at him. Obviously I'm not training, sensei, Naruto said and left. Inari was by his side, but the boy clung to his leg. Get lost, loser, this exercise is too difficult for you. Besides, this is your punishment for attacking me, Sasuke said, glaring at Naruto. So, Kakashi-sensei, are you going to punish him for not teaching Sasuke the shadow clone technique? Naruto said, and they could hear the annoyance in every word. No. You attacked him, that's why I'm punishing you, but I think you should teach him the technique. That would improve his training, he said. Kakashi and Naruto burst out laughing. Well, I say no, either you nor this, __, can make me want to know why. What? Naruto said, and Sasuke took a step forward. Oh, really? Why not? The Uchiha said in a somber tone, and Naruto. He glared at him with a new look they had never seen before. Because you attacked an innocent civilian, no? You deserve the technique. Naruto said, and Sakura snorted at the accusation. Sasuke-kun would never do that. She exclaimed. Kakashi laughed too. Stop trying to get attention, Naruto. Your punishment has been made worse by these actions. Actions? Said the Jun, and Naruto raised an eyebrow. Inari, who was it that? Did he push you against the wall and mock you? Naruto asked the frightened boy. Inari pointed to Sasuke. Who? He glared at him with eyes full of rage. Sasuke, is that true? Kakashi asked in a low voice, and Sasuke snorted. Yeah, right. The loser just wants attention. Now show me the damn move! He yelled. Naruto shook his head. I don't have to teach you anything, Naruto said, crossing his arms over his chest. Come, Sasuke, I'll teach you the jutsu myself. Kakashi murmured, but Naruto abruptly stopped him. No, you won't. Those are my orders. Since you won't punish Sasuke, I will. Naruto said and looked directly to Uchiha. You may never learn the Kagebyo no Jutsu in your life. From another Konoha ninja, you also can't learn it from any other ninja, because if you do, you'll lose your rank and become sent to prison. Naruto turned to Kakashi, who was about to intervene, and spoke again in a voice darker. Your attack will never teach Sasuke or anyone else the Shadow Clone Jutsu. If you do, you will lose. Your rank will increase, and you'll become a genin. From then on, you'll only have missions. You can't do that, Kakashi exclaimed, and Naruto chuckled. He took the scroll from his pocket. Well, I am the master of this jutsu, and my word on this technique is law, Naruto said, lifting Inari and placing him back on his back. You can't do that, loser, not even. You invented the jutsu, and you're not even a member of the Nyokaji Council, Sasuke and Kakashi shouted. He silenced him with a wave of his hand. Sasuke is useless. Naruto's word on this jutsu is law, and if you go against it, that law will be obeyed, Kakashi said. Sasuke looked at him, confused. Naruto chuckled. As he walked away from the three angry ninjas, when they were halfway home, Inari spoke. Why not? Did you hit him? He asked sadly. Inari, what I just did hurts him and my sensei more than the pain. Physical, the jutsu I forbade him from learning is one of the most powerful techniques in my village. And when I forbade Sasuke learning it, she lost the ability to get what she truly wanted. Naruto finished ear and looked at him with a smile. Thank you very much, Nisan. Inari cheered and Naruto smiled at the name that Inari had given it to him. I guess I'm just a hero, huh? Naruto asked. His gaze fixed straight ahead. He waited for a response. But when he looked back at Inari, he saw that the boy was in silence, with tears in her eyes. What's wrong, Inari? Nothing, it's just that I don't believe in heroes, Inari said, and fell into a deathly silence. Another one. A question to ask Tazuna, I suppose? Naruto thought as he continued walking with the boy. That dinner that night was really interesting. As Naruto and his team headed to the table, they discovered that it was already there. The table was prepared and their seats had been chosen. There were just enough places for everyone. Tsunami sat at the head of the table, and Inari was to her right. Next to him, she called Naruto over, and on the other side, Tazuna took Naruto's seat. Then, on the other side of the table, Sasuke and Sakura sat. They sat down, and then, at the other end of the table, opposite Tsunami, sat Kakashi. So, in general, the arrangements. They looked like this: Tsunami facing Kakashi, Tazuna facing Sasuke, Naruto facing Sakura, and Inari watched the tension unfold. Tazuna's face was stony as he stared at Sasuke. He had overheard what the teenager had done something to his grandson earlier that day and was angry. Tsunami learned that Sasuke hadn't. He had been punished by Kakashi, but not by Naruto, and he sat staring at the silver-haired jounin who kept. His gaze was fixed on the ceiling, waiting for dinner to be served. Naruto was playing with Inari and felt Sakura's and Inari's stares. Sasuke's eyes were fixed on him. He knew ninjas had better hearing than other people, so he whispered it loud enough for both Sasuke and Sakura to hear. If looks could kill, I'd already be 2 meters short. Earth, Naruto continued playing while Sasuke and Sakura turned their attention to another thing. About 10 tense minutes passed before Tsunami got up and served dinner. She placed the Enar and Naruto's plates were placed in front of them. Smiling affectionately, and then he gave his to his father and kissed him on the head. Then he grabbed the rest of the plates from Team 7 and dropped them. They stood before them with furious glares. Hell doesn't have that, Naruto began to think. There's no fury like Tazuna thought. At the same time, a despised woman, Kakashi finished the thought in chorus with a sigh. Tsunami sat in her. They were seated at the table, and with the united choir singing, "Thank you for dinner." Everyone began to eat. It happened when the dishes of Kakashi and Sasuke were almost empty. Naruto heard a dull roar echoing in the stomachs of his entire team, not including him. Tsunami looked up from his plate and raised an eyebrow when Kakashi and Sasuke ran from the table and heard two doors slammed shut. Sakura looked at Naruto in horror, until suddenly his stomach growled again, much louder. This time he got up and began to limp toward the bathroom, and Naruto heard the roar again and saw Tsunami counting down with her fingers. He arrived at 1, then 0. When it happened, Sakura tried to escape from him, but it happened. Her stomach growled, and Naruto. He watched as he listened to a series of strange noises coming from his rear end. Tazuna had put down his fork, and she had covered her nose while Tsunami covered her mouth. Sakura hunched her shoulders and her head. It slammed into his left shoulder, squeezing harder and harder, while his face contorted. Trying to fight against what was happening, she clenched her fists in front of her and Naruto saw the blood leaving the tight balls of meat. Sakura let out a low moan as she became aroused, so intensely that everyone they heard it. Naruto was horrified, for he had never heard such a sound in his life. It sounded like a rocket exploding in her pants, and she hunched over and the sound intensified. "Oh my god, how disgusting!" Yari Sakura moaned. The explosive sound made her fall to the ground. She tried to crawl, but her body wouldn't allow it, and she let out another fart. "We'll call it the rocket fart," Sakura groaned as she stood up, thinking it was all over. But then, when the grand finale hit her, silence fell as her stomach rumbled slowly, the sound growing louder and louder. Stronger. Naruto knew that whatever was coming next wasn't a rocket fart, but something much worse. Sakura. She must have known something was about to happen because she looked at Tsunami and shook her head. "Please." She didn't say anything, and then it happened. Sakura let out such a loud fart that the windows rattled and Naruto had to raise his arms to protect himself from the wind, which was green and dragged things along. Sakura was screaming, but it was really loud because her fart was so loud that Naruto couldn't hear himself. The fart. The rocket had turned into a megafart rocket. Suddenly it began to subside when the last thing happened. The fart roared again and Sakura's shorts turned brown as she defecated in front of everyone. The room. He shuddered as the explosive diarrhea began to tear his pants apart and splattered the wall with his brown. Naruto was throwing himself at Tazuna while Inari covered his eyes. Tsunami simply watched with. I was amused by how she was getting her revenge. Soon, Sakura fell to her knees and tumbled into a pile of her own. "You messed up the pants, Sakura," said Naruto, and Tsunami got up and walked toward the kitchen. Naruto got up and left. Sakura was crying, rolling around in her own puddle of so she could talk to Tsunami. She found her. She was dying of laughter and waited until he finished to ask him what he had done to his team. "How did you do that?" he asked with a serious face, and she feared he was angry with her. "I bought some soldier pills since we sell them here in this country, and then I mixed them with a laxative," Tsunami admitted, and saw Naruto's face smile at her. Slowly. "I have a new joke," he shouted, and they both started laughing again. Chapter 3, Making Friends with a Enemy. 3 days passed after the dinner incident, and since then the Team 7 had been much kinder to Inari and made sure there were no hidden surprises in their food. The walls and floor were finally clean, and the lingering smell finally disappeared. Naruto. He was sitting with Inari at the table explaining the basics of ninja life. Since the boy was very interested in the subject, the teenager and the little boy had grown closer over the past 3 days and were inseparable. "So, ninjas use something called chakra to fight, almost everyone has chakra, but you have to train to learn how to use it," Naruto said sadly, and Inari nodded happily. "So, how old do you have to be a ninja?" the boy asked, and Naruto chuckled. "Well, it depends. There are kids your age who are very skilled, but those ninjas are rare. In fact, do you know my annoying friend? Teammate?" Naruto asked. Inari replied, and Naruto. He laughed. "Yes, him. His brother was an umbu captain when he was only 13, so he was younger than me. He accepted one of the toughest jobs in the village and was very skilled at it. Naruto said. Her eyes widened. Wow, that's great. Wait, how old are you, Nisan? Yari asked. Naruto smiled. I'm 14 years old, and my birthday is in 6 months, so I'll be 14 and a half. Naruto Eri said. He smiled. Well, I'm only 8 years old, so if I want to become one of these genius ninjas, I have to get started. Work, and Nari remained silent and stared at Naruto with wide eyes. Can you teach me how to be a ninja? Naruto. Inar burst out laughing and stared at him in shock. When she regained her composure, she sighed, realizing that the boy was serious. He reminds me of myself, Naruto thought, and put his hand on his shoulder. Well, I could teach you the most basic ninjutsu and maybe some taijutsu, but Naruto said yes. Inari stood up. He jumped up cheering, and Naruto sighed. But you might not have enough chakra to perform any ninjutsu, he said. Naruto, and he shrugged. Let's begin now, the boy shouted and ran out the door, and Naruto sighed and followed him outside. Inari remained impatiently in the grass, rocking back and forth on his heels. Naruto approached him and crouched down to be at his level. Well, first I'll teach you how to use the most basic jutsu, Karimi, no jutsu, Naruto said, scratching the back of his neck. How am I supposed to teach this kid if he's one of the lowest ranked students in the school? Class? What's that? Inari asked, adjusting herself slightly. Naruto. He chuckled softly before explaining. It's a technique you can use in difficult situations. For example, let's say the enemy has you pinned down, and you need to escape. You could use this technique to swap positions with anyone object that you can visualize at that moment. At first, you may only be able to swap positions with objects that are about 3 meters away, but don't worry because after a while you'll be able to swap positions with anything within your 30m perimeter. Naruto finished, and Inari nodded, understanding what Naruto had just explained. Well, when can we start? Inari asked. Impatience grew, and Naruto sighed as the boy looked more and more like himself with each passing second. Well, first I'll teach you how to do the hand seal. Once you master it, you won't need to use it anymore, Naruto said, kneeling down. Standing in front of the boy and taking both his hands, he bent his 2 inner fingers and brought the boy's hands together. There you have it. You need a hand seal. Inari nodded enthusiastically and looked at Naruto curiously. Now what? The boy asked, and Naruto's face lit up with a bead of sweat. I have no idea. I think we should. Let's start with the basic exercises, Naruto said, picking up a small stone. What's that for? Inari asked curiously. Naruto chuckled. Your task, hold this stone in your hand, concentrate your chakra in it and try to make it float on your palm as firmly as possible, Naruto said, and Inari nodded. Wait, how do I focus my chakra? Inari asked, concentrating on the stone. Naruto was struck again by another chakra. A drop of sweat appeared, and Inari continued concentrating on the stone. Well, meditate a little and seek the power within you. Body, it shouldn't be too difficult, but when you find it, concentrate on the rock. I will continue teaching you how to use the Kawarimi technique once you have managed to make the stone float for at least 10 seconds. Seconds and about 5 centimeters from your palm, Naruto said, and Inari nodded, closing his eyes. Naruto chuckled and walked away from him toward the house. He had his own training to do. He was doing a couple of days ago, he had stealthily approached Sasuke and Sakura, talking about the exercise of walking through the trees and learned the basics from the fragments he heard, while it would take him a while to learn the technique. I knew he'd try to dominate her in 2 days, then he'd gloat and rub it in Sasuke's face. To further enrage the Naruto grabbed his training clothes, that is, his shorts and t-shirt, orange, and changed quickly. She put the red parchment back in her pocket, ran out of the house, and he gave Inari a quick glance. The boy was sweating as he tried to find his chakra. Maybe I can't do it, Naruto thought, and silently encouraged the boy as he ran into the forest to find a place. He found a designated training area in about 10 minutes and stretched a bit before getting ready to start his workout. Exercise, he took out a single kunai to mark his progress, as Sasuke and Sakura did, and planted his feet. Separated, he charged chakra in his feet and ran towards the tree. He jumped and stepped on the trunk. Crack! Naruto was launched out of the tree, crashed to the ground, and rolled a couple of meters. What the hell? He thought as he jumped to his feet. He tried again with the same result after taking 3 steps. After getting up from the ground, he realized what was happening to him. If I use too much chakra, I'll destroy the surface. And it propels me, which means that if I use too little chakra, I won't stay put. With that thought, Naruto sighed and charged more chakra into his feet, but made sure it was half the amount he had used before. He ran towards the tree, and after 4 steps, the result was himself, but it still marked his progress. The cut mark was about 3 meters high, and Naruto cursed. He charged even less chakra. He continued like this for a while until Naruto collapsed against the tree, panting and drenched in sweat. Fuck my life, he thought as he breathed in short gasps. Aku was walking along a path when he heard a faint but audible explosion preceded her. Slowly, she pulled out a semen and continued on her way to where she was going. She was looking for herbs. As the trees parted in front of her, she saw a boy trying to climb a tree, but the bark exploded and sent him flying. Aku looked at him more closely and gasped. It was the boy who had seen her the other day, the one who allowed him to attack his sensei and didn't resist. Aku was torn between killing this boy and to remove an obstacle from the path, both his own and his master's. He slowly aimed. She grabbed the emben and suddenly dropped them into a bush and sighed she couldn't kill the boy. No matter what happened, wasn't so evil. Aku emerged from the trees and approached the boy who now he was leaning against a tree, catching his breath. He moved slowly and silently until he was about a meter away. Hello? He murmured. Naruto heard a female voice speaking to him, and opened his eyes to look at whoever it was. He was standing right in front of him. What he saw left him speechless. The girl in front of him was simply dazzling. Her beauty. She radiated like sunlight. She had dark brown eyes and black hair that hung freely behind her, and it reached below her shoulders. She wore a beautiful dress that reached a little below her knees and opened at the top to reveal a bit of her cleavage. Naruto blushed and stammered, "Oh. Hello?" he exclaimed and jumped to his feet. The girl watched him curiously. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "Little girl," she laughed, and he smiled at her soft laughter. "Oh, I'm just gathering herbs for some things," she said quietly. He bent down, picked a small blade of grass, and put it in his basket. "Oh, well," Naruto said, unsure what to say. "What am I doing? What am I doing? I sound like an idiot," he mentally screamed and shook his head. "So you're a ninja?" she asked, looking at the headband he wore. "Yes, one of the best," he exclaimed, but then a drop of sweat fell from his brow. "In fact, one of the worst. I'm trying to master this exercise, but it's not working," she said sadly and laughed. "Well, I forgot my manners. I didn't introduce myself. My name is Aku." Just when As the words left her mouth, Naruto was already on guard. He jumped away from her and landed crouching, lifting his cradle and facing her. He was protecting himself from any attack she might plan. "You look familiar," Naruto said. Yaku looked at him. He stared and cursed mentally. Zabuza-sama had said his name aloud. The ninjas stopped when they saw her, and now had discovered her identity. "Please, I'm not here to fight you," she said, and Naruto stared at her for a moment longer. "Why should I trust you?" Yaku replied quickly. "Because I could have killed you if I'd wanted to the moment I first saw you," he said, and Naruto slowly lowered his. "Can I?" "That's true, but still," Yaku murmured, giving her a touching smile. "Oh, she's beautiful," Yaku thought. She knew she had gained her trust. "Let's be simple friends today and wait until it's necessary," she said, dropping the basket and approaching him. "Look, I'll show you how to complete the exercise you're learning." Naruto watched as she slowly removed. He squeezed his hands into a ball and threw it against a tree where it stuck. "My teams are going to kill me," Naruto murmured as he led him toward a tree he hadn't destroyed. "Here, lie face down. Stand up and place both feet against the tree, then slowly send chakra to your feet, and when your feet adhere, you'll know how much to use from the tree. It's just a way to maintain concentration," Aku explained with a friendly smile. "Hey, why didn't I think of that?" Naruto wondered, giving himself a slap to the forehead and staring at the tree he had destroyed to learn the technique. Aku laughed, and Naruto closed. He opened his eyes and began to concentrate chakra in his feet. Naruto and he were sitting. They were making figures with long blades of grass and sticks. They had been there since that morning, and it was already little more than midday. They had both shared their life stories and realized they were almost the same age. Aku. She had just turned 15 the day before their meeting on the way to the land of waves. Naruto was surprised that. It was a shame that such a beautiful girl was so young, however, he didn't let that thought go. And wished her a belated happy birthday, which made her burst out laughing, although they shared their stories of. They didn't reveal essential information about themselves. Yes, they talked about things like their family, their teachers, and his gifts. Aku didn't explain what his gift really was, but he told Naruto that he had a very strong Kekkeienkai. Naruto told her about the demons sealed inside him, and she gasped as she heard how he was being treated. "That's why you didn't betray me that day, you were getting revenge on your team," he murmured, and Naruto nodded. "Yes, but I didn't tell them." "You say, Konoha would really hurt me," Naruto said, and they both laughed. "We've been here for hours, what do you say we see if... Can I improve my tree climbing skills?" Naruto asked, and the person nodded. Naruto concentrated his chakra and ran towards a tree that had not been destroyed, reaching halfway up its trunk before giving a. He did a backflip onto a branch, landed gracefully, and stuck to it. Yaka smiled excitedly and made a gesture. He gave her a thumbs up. Naruto stood up very carefully and smiled at her, but he took a step and slipped. He stretched out his arms uselessly, trying to keep his balance, but it was no use. He fell backward, and Aku left. A stifled gasp of surprise escaped him, but Naruto slipped under the branch and ended up upside down. "I think I've got him now," he thought. Yaki yelled, rolled his eyes, and walked toward the tree. "Then do this," he said, and ran up the tree. She did a somersault, then a front flip, and landed back on the log, crouching down. Yes, not very ladylike to do a somersault and a flip while wearing a dress, but Aku had told Naruto that she always wore shorts under dresses because of perverts. Naruto couldn't open his jaw because his mouth was so full of them. Down, but if I had been standing, I would already be on the ground. "I want to do that," he exclaimed, reaching out and grabbing the branch. He swung his body a little, then turned and landed on the treetop. He walked toward the trunk and slowly descended toward Aku, who smiled at him. "Well, that takes practice. Because you have to control the chakra in your hands and feet with great precision," Aku said, stretching his arms, "but I suppose I could show you this." He did a handstand and climbed down the tree. Upon reaching the bottom of the trunk, her legs slid over her head and touched the ground, bridging the gap with her hands. Leaning against the tree trunk, slowly and gracefully she stood up, and Naruto stared at her, mouth agape. "No way I was going to. I could do that. I can barely walk on my hands for 10 seconds, he thought, slid down the tree and she landed next to Aku, who smiled radiantly at her. "You're crazy, what a shame we have to fight later," Yaka said. She frowned and nodded. "Yes, I like you, you're the first person I've connected with since I met Zabuza-ame," Aku said, and Naruto sighed. "Well, until then I guess we'll still be friends," he said, offering her Malik, friends, outcasts, and enemies. "We are frenemies," she laughed. He took his pinky finger and they shook it. "How touching, Aku, you finally got one friend," a voice suddenly said from behind a tree, and both teenagers stiffened. "Zabuza-sama," Aku said, looking at the man as he stepped out into the clearing. "I thought you said you were going to gather herbs," he said, and looked. The blond boy was studying everything, and here you are with the enemy you could have easily killed. Zabu started it, but Naruto, he interrupted. "We're not enemies now, we're just friends who will fight when the time comes," said the blond man. Zabuza raised an eyebrow. "Seriously, so what will you do then?" staring into her eyes as she kills you and your team? The Mist Demon asked, and Naruto shrugged. "I guess I'll die," was his reply. Arrogant, and Zabuza began to laugh. "I suppose I understand why you and I became friends," Zabuza murmured, looking at the blond man more closely. "Hey, relative, who's your father?" Zabuza asked suddenly. "I have no idea, I'm an orphan," Naruto said, looking at Aku. "I'd better go, I'll see you when let's fight, but until then, take care, Aku, and thanks for helping me with my training," said Naruto and began to get away. "Not so fast, you hooligan, you're going to rat us out here and we can't allow it," Zabuza said, placing his hand on the hilt of his sword. "Zabuza-sama, believe me when I tell you that Naruto won't betray us," Aku said, smiling at the blond boy. "In fact, he was the first to see me, but he didn't alert anyone." "Nobody," Zabuza looked at Naruto with a raised eyebrow and dropped his sword. Well. Anyway, dude, see you on the bridge, ha, I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. Things develop, me either, said Naruto and disappeared into the forest, leaving Akuriendo and Zabuza behind. Amused, Naruto entered through the front door and several people eyed him suspiciously. He saw Kakashi watching him hesitantly, trying to decipher a question while Sasuke and Sakura glared at him. He was about to make a comment when Iny intervened. Hey, Nan! I found my chakra and made the stone float! He exclaimed. The boy smiled at Naruto and sat down at the table. Good job, Inari! He exclaimed. Naruto ruffled the boy's hair. Now tell him the whole story, Tsunami said. Serving the dishes, Inari came down. The look before speaking, I practically gave him everything I had, and the rock flew through a couple of windows, and then I crashed. He boarded a fisherman's boat and it sank. Naruto looked at Inari and observed all the windows in his view. Indeed, the kitchen window was broken, and right across from it was another one. Broken window. From then on, Naruto had no trouble believing that the rock had flown and hit a boat, since the little house was near a small lake. Okay, keep practicing, we'll move on to the next steps when you're ready. Better control, Naruto said, and Tsunami handed him his plate. Naruto, what are you teaching him? Kakashi asked. His voice trailed off, and Naruto looked at Inari, then at Sasuke. Kai Bunsen, was all he said, and he saw Sasuke's eyes. They were getting glassy as anger consumed him. Son of a bitch! Yukiya shouted and stood up, causing his chair to crash to the ground. Naruto grinned from ear to ear, and Inari knew she should play along. I can do it now. A clone, the boy said, and Sasuke's eye twitched as he stormed up the stairs. Naruto, loser. You'll teach this little one, Sakura began, but Tsunami's sharp gaze stopped her. This child, the technique, but no. Sasuke-kun, Naruto shrugged, and Kakashi shook his head. What a disappointment. Naruto had expected better from you. I see you don't deserve to train with Sasuke and Sakura yet. For now, this tree climbing exercise is very important. The silver-haired Jounin continued chattering. I don't need to learn it, said Naruto, and he started eating. Why not? Kakashi asked, sitting up. Because I'm the Shadow Clone Master, Naruto said. Ending the conversation, the blonde forgot to mention that while Sasuke and it had taken Sakura almost 5 days to begin mastering the technique, it had only taken him 1. Naruto rubbed his head. His eyes darted over as he stepped over another tree trunk. Following his team, Kakashi had decided to go and observe. His teammates were doing the exercise, but he really wanted Naruto to go and see his team show off of being able to climb trees. Soon they reached the clearing and Naruto saw the trees that Sakura and Sasuke worked with and saw that his cuts reached approximately 3/4 of the trunk. Kakashi pointed and told Naruto that he sat down near a tree so he could observe. As he sat down, Sasuke smirked at him before running toward the tree. And climb it. Awesome, faggot! Naruto thought as Sasuke cut down the tree. Before doing a backflip from the log and landing on the ground, Sakura did the same and her mark was slightly superior to Sasuke's. But Alukia wasn't angry. Kakashi had explained to him that Sakura had control. I need chakra, so this exercise would be easier for him. Look, Naruto, could you learn to do? What's this? Kakashi explained, and Naruto chuckled before falling sideways, bursting into laughter. What's so funny, loser? Sasuke asked, staring at the blonde boy. Why learn something so easy? Naruto said. Wiping away a tear, Naruto asked. Besides, is this all you've got to show after 7 days of practice? Pointing at the Yukiya tree. Pathetic! He shouted and burst out laughing again. Watch out, loser! I'd like to see you do this exercise, Sasuke said somberly, and Naruto shrugged. Okay, if I manage to do it in one go. Once I reach the top of the tree, then you'll have to carry all the bags home, Naruto and Sasuke said. He snorted. The Uchiha looked at Kakashi, and the join nodded. But if you lose, then you'll teach me the Kai Bunsen, Sasuke said. Absolutely, and Naruto raised an eyebrow. Well, since we're raising the stakes, I'll change my own deal. If you to achieve this once, you'll have to complete the Hell's Rank mission. You have to catch that damn cat 25 times. Different missions, Naruto said, and she laughed without using chakra. He added. Naruto and Sasuke shrugged. Let's see how you do the exercise, Kakashi said, and Naruto chuckled. Have fun catching the cat, underscore underscore, said Naruto and ran towards a cool tree. He approached and stopped. Wait a moment, I don't want to get ahead of myself. Having said that, she put one foot in the tree and then the other. She stayed there. Standing a meter off the ground, he craned his neck to see the astonished faces of his companions. He chuckled and he ran up the tree, jumping from branch to branch and landing on trunks, until he reached the top. Then he returned to. He jumped onto the trunk, concentrated chakra in his front hind leg, and slid down the tree until he stopped on a branch. He was standing 6 meters off the ground. He crouched down on the branch and looked at his team who were watching him. With amazement and wonder, although it took you a week to master this exercise, it only took me yesterday. Let's do it, Naruto said and ran around the tree trunk. He landed on the ground and looked directly at Sasuke. Look at the eyes, have fun catching the cat on your next mission, that said Naruto. He left the team to go train Inari. The last thing he heard was Sasuke yelling after him, and Sakura joining him. Kakashi grumbled and stared at the blonde man. Chapter 4, What is a Hero? Another week passed quickly. In that time, Inari had finally learned to summon his chakra and direct it towards an object. The boy had chakra control as poor as Naruto's. It was only by luck that Inari had passed the test of the stone without killing anyone in the process. He had passed the test. It had been 4 days, and Naruto immediately began practicing the Kawarimi technique with him. The boy showed some. He had potential, but Naruto was getting frustrated. After 4 days of practice, he was where he is now. Again. Naruto shouted, and Inari pointed down authoritatively. Hey, don't ignore that I used the technique. Look, I moved an inch from where I was last time, Yari shouted, and Naruto got on all fours. She scanned the area and saw that the boy was telling the truth, as if that would make any difference in the battle. Grr. Naruto muttered, narrowing his eyes. Growling. Inari muttered, and put his hands together. He clenched his hands and concentrated his chakra. Naruto watched as the blue chakra began to swirl around him. Body, creating a light breeze. Maybe I'll manage it, Naruto exclaimed mentally. Kaimo Jutsu. There was a cloud of smoke, and as it dissipated, Naruto hunched over with a drop of sweat. And Nari had moved a few centimeters ahead. That's another centimeter, Inari shouted when she saw the. Naruto sighed. And another death, Naruto shouted. Look at this, Naruto said. And clasped his hands together. Kawa Min Jutsu. Naruto disappeared in a puff of smoke and it reappeared about 5 centimeters from where it had been. Upon seeing it, it jumped back. Startled, he stood on one leg with the other stretched out in front of him. He raised his hands. You're a mess, he shouted. Inari. They had continued training for the rest of that day until night, and Inari had finally. I was able to advance about 5 centimeters, swapping places with something larger than a blade of grass. He had finally swapped places with a small twig. This time Naruto was really. He was impressed with the boy's progress. He had outperformed Naruto in a week when he first trained to be a ninja. At that moment they were sitting at the table having dinner, which was as silent as the dinners of 6 days. Before, everyone was tense because Zabuza could attack any day now. It was also because the dispute within Team 7 had intensified when Sasuke knocked Naruto down and sent him flying. Then, when Naruto went to get revenge, Sakura intervened and stopped Naruto in his tracks with a blow that would paralyze even the strongest of them. Male ninjas. After that, the two of them had been avoiding him, fearful of any serious consequences that could cause them harm. Naruto and Sasuke stared at each other as they ate. Naruto wanted to go to the village for a short visit and buy some snacks for his stay. After finishing his. After eating, she stood up and looked at Tsunami. Well, I'm leaving, see you later, she muttered and started walking away. Where are you going? What's wrong with you? Kakashi asked, looking at the blonde boy. Like you care, Naruto said, and closed the door. Kakashi shrugged and he continued eating. Tsunami looked at him with disgust. He really didn't like ninjas and would throw them out of his house if they tried. It wasn't for Naruto, who was interacting with Inari. It had been a long time since I'd seen the boy happy. Naruto walked through the. I walked along the forest path until I reached the small village, happy to see that most of the shops were still open. He was a little angry because they weren't selling guns in town, but Tazuna had explained that Gato had taken it as a sign of resistance. Naruto walked through the small village without seeing any of them. Of the small, poor children she had seen the first time she had been there. Finally, she arrived at the store. He answered correctly and went inside. The items they had were few, but Naruto knew there would be enough. He walked down the aisles and finally filled his arms with small bags of candy and approached the counter. The man looked at him and he told her how much all the snacks cost. 2,000 yen equals $1 per. Please, the man said, and Naruto nodded. He took out 2 bills, handed them to him, and slapped him angrily on the head. Wait, I don't have enough change, sorry, said Naruto, and he took out 5 more bills. It was the triple what he owed, but he looked at him seriously as he handed over the money. The man nodded in thanks and he put the money in the cash register while pocketing the other 6,000 yen. Come back, please, he said. The man smiled, and Naruto chuckled and left. Tazuna had told him that cat thugs were lurking around. They went to the small shops and made sure no one stole their money. Naruto went out into the street with his bag in his hand. He started walking when he felt a tug on his pants. He turned around and saw a little girl running away. With her frog purse, he cursed and ran after her as she turned corners and weaved through traffic. Naruto. He saw her enter an alley and run, but a large wooden gate stopped her. She turned and looked at Naruto with horror as he approached. Please give me back my wallet, he said, and the girl looked at him with tears in her eyes. He approached and she curled up into a ball, clutching her purse to her chest. She waited for the kicks and punches from Naruto. But they didn't arrive. Instead, she felt Naruto slowly release her arms from her legs, and soon she found herself sitting without her purse. Naruto was crouching in front of her, smiling. If you needed anything, you had to ask for it. With that, he took out several bills and handed them to the girl, who looked at him in astonishment. It had happened. Naruto took out a bag of candy and handed it to her, the girl. She immediately opened the bag of gummy bears and started eating them. And what's your name? She said, holding out her hand. I'm Uzumaki Naruto. The girl looked at her hand, then at his face, and took his hand in her own small, dirty one. Me. My name is Tejiri, she said shyly, and Naruto chuckled. How old are you? He asked her politely, and she held up 8 fingers. You're the same age as Inari. Do you know him? He asked, and the girl shook her head. No, I haven't heard of him, she said, and ate another gummy bear. Well, never mind. And where are your parents? He asked, looking around, but he couldn't find anyone. I don't have parents, he said. Sadness washed over him, and he lowered his gaze. He killed them. Gato whispered the man's name, and Naruto frowned. That bastard. He cursed under his breath, stood up, and held out his hand. Come on, let's heal you. Tejiri took his hand and stood up. Naruto was still chewing on his gummies. They both left the alley and saw many people giving him friendly smiles. They had expected the boy to hit the girl, but instead they had walked out holding hands, and she was chewing on some of her food. Naruto led the girl through the city until they came across a clothing store, where he bought some of the few things they had. He got the girl a pair of black shorts, a pink t-shirt, 3 pairs of socks, a pair of shoes, and a small black backpack. She packed all the clothes in. She took his hand again and they walked away. Then she found the public restrooms and gave the man a blowjob. Counter double the amount needed so that the dirty girl could take a nice hot bath. Naruto waited outside for half an hour when the girl poked her head around the door and asked in her little voice, shyly, should I put on my old clothes? Naruto laughed, shook his head, and threw the bag. It landed next to the door and the girl reached out, put the black bag inside, and after 10 minutes, she came out fully dressed. Her hair, now clean, was a light brown shade, reaching her shoulders. His skin was also noticeably cleaner. It was a soft cream color, and Naruto chuckled at not noticing anything amiss. Thank you so much, I feel much better, the little girl said happily and hugged him. Yes, ha ha, let's go. Find me something to eat, he said, and they left the bathhouse. Naruto knew that he was going to go broke after investing so much money in the girl. He had already given her 10,000 yen and spent over 6,000. They walked until they reached a grocery store and went inside to buy the girl a lot of things, which they put in her bag. Then they visited the same clothing store and he let her choose different clothes that they also put it in her bag. As she left, she smiled radiantly and held her hand. From Naruto, Naruto knew that having all those things would be dangerous, so he took a quick decision. He led her to a secluded alley and they were left in the dark. Okay, Tejiri, now. They'll want to rob you, so take this for protection," he said, handing her a kunai which she looked at in amazement. "But how?" "Use this," he exclaimed, and Naruto chuckled. "If someone tries to hurt you or steal your things, simply cut it with the edge. You don't need to be a ninja to hurt someone with it, but only use it if someone's trying to hurt you, okay?" he asked, and Tejui nodded. "I understand, Naruto-sano." He said this and put the kunai in his pocket, but Naruto shook his head. "It's too dangerous, it could cut your shorts. Here, do this," he said, and she handed him the crib, and while he tied it to a string he took from his pocket. "There you go, around your neck and on your shirt." Tejui obeyed, and when they finished, there was a small bulge in her shirt, but otherwise she was ready. "Thank you for everything," he said, and hugged Naruto tightly. Naruto was surprised for a second, but returned the hug with kindness. "You should be fine with the money you have and your supplies." Having said this, they turned around to leave. When they heard voices from the corner, Naruto stopped dead in his tracks and pushed Tejui. "Be quiet," he said. He crept up to the corner and listened to the conversation. "Yeah, those useless ninjas Gato hired are no good." "Not at all," the first man said. "It's a good thing that after I use them to destroy those ninjas, if we attack, they'll let us kill them. That girl is very pretty, and if I can do whatever I want with her," said the second one, and Naruto heard the first one laugh. "Yes, most of them want it, I do," he said, and the two chuckled as they walked away. "So when do we attack again?" he asked, and Naruto heard the Naruto sighed for a second. "Tomorrow, idiot!" the man shouted, and they both began to laugh until their voices faded away. Naruto looked at Tejui, lifted her into his arms. It was past midnight and he had to hurry to warn all the next Sakari. Tazuna left for work at 5 a.m., so that gave him plenty of time. Tejui looked at him while they ran towards the village gate. Upon arriving, he put the girl down and stared at her for a second before turning back. "Lift it up, I don't trust leaving you here now, so you're coming with me," said. He then headed to the clearing in the forest where he had met them. They arrived several minutes later and Naruto got out. The girl looked around in despair. She was breathing heavily when she found the tree where she had been. He left Zabuyaku and ran towards him. Tejui followed, his eyes wide with fear. "What's going on in Naruto-san?" the girl asked fearfully, and Naruto raised a hand, signaling for silence. "I'm looking for someone," he said, searching for footsteps that were fading away, and found them. He sighed in relief, picked up Tejui, and ran down He ran along the path where the footprints were located. He ran for what seemed like hours searching for something, but when the footprints they stopped, and he found himself in another clearing. "What the hell?" he wondered angrily. Looking around in despair, Aku shouted, but received no answer. Aku-chan shouted even louder. Tejui stared at him in horror. Naruto angrily punched a nearby tree. Where could they be? He looked at Tejui. "You'll stay with the family I've been staying with for now. It's too dangerous for you to be out." He picked up the girl and they ran towards Tazuna's house. Naruto jumped over fallen trees and large mud puddles until he returned to the familiar path that led to the family home. Naruto glanced over his shoulder at the frightened girl. Tejui reassured her. "Okay, let's go somewhere safe," she said, and quickened her pace. She had lost almost an hour. He was trying to find Aku, so now he had maybe 3 more minutes to warn his team and get ready. "He's good," he whispered. They ran for minutes until they finally saw the house with the lights on. Naruto didn't. He lost time and crashed into the door, tearing it off its hinges. He staggered inside and found himself face to face with Tazuna, and Kakashi stared at him in shock. Sasuke and Sakura's eyes widened at his sudden outburst. "Appearance, Naruto, what the hell?" Kakashi exclaimed, and Naruto raised a hand while panting. "Cat is attacking the bridge today," Naruto said, ignoring the stares of his companions. "The bridge!" Tazuna shouted and began to pull things with much more vigor. "Sasuke, Sakura, pack your things, we're going to watch the bridge," Kakashi said, ignoring Naruto. "What about me?" he asked. Naruto lowered Tejui. "Looks like it's your turn to be a babysitter now," Kakashi said, looking at the little girl who shivered beneath him. His gaze, "Son of a bitch doesn't want me to help him because he might overshadow Sasuke," Naruto screamed mentally, while her facial features slowly transformed into anger. "Just because you want Sasuke to look like a hero," Naruto said firmly. "Naruto!" Kakashi shouted. and the blond boy grabbed Tejui's hand and led her away. He went upstairs to a spare room. After letting the girl get into bed, fearing for his life, Naruto went to his room. He knew that if he tried to go with his team, they would despise him and send him home, so he thought, why not let them? Naruto quickly took off his muddy clothes and put on a more elegant outfit. It was his jumpsuit. The usual orange. He threw himself onto the bed, put his arms under his head, and stared at the ceiling. Why did they put me in such a bad team? He wondered and closed his eyes. He was worried about Aku. It was his first real friend his own age. Naruto woke up to the sound of an explosion and jumped to his feet. He glanced quickly around, grabbed his bag of kunai, strapped it to his leg, and ran out of his room. Upon entering the hallway, he found Tejui heading towards the source of the sound. Stay in your room. Stay in your room until someone comes to get you, he ordered in a soft whisper. The girl nodded and fled to the room. Where he was again, Naruto turned around and slowly went down the stairs. He skipped the last 3 steps and she landed in the hallway and found everything fine. She ran to the kitchen and gasped in surprise. A wall. The whole thing was knocked down, leaving a huge hole in its place. He looked outside and found a scene that frightened him greatly. 2 men stood outside, one holding Tsunami by the neck. Eri wept as she watched. Horror. Naruto acted quickly and ran away, making a cross-hand sealed Kai Byo no Jutsu. His shout made the men turn their heads toward him and hesitate. When 10 clones jumped, of those, 5 went after one man, while the others went after the other. The first man was a big, fat guy, and Naruto's clones crashed into his fat and sent him rolling backward. Other clones confronted the other man who possessed Tsunami. The man had a drawn sword and was pointing it menacingly towards Tsunami's throat. Naruto's clones stopped abruptly and looked at a thin man with white hair. Naruto dismissed his clones and stood in front of the thin man and saw the fat man get. Standing there, Naruto could only watch as the fat man approached, smiling, grabbed Tsunami, and handed her to him. He carried it on his shoulder. One more step and the bitch dies, said the skinny man as he pointed his sword again at the neck. If you make a move to hurt him, you're dead, Naruto yelled, pulling out a kunai. Great talk about a little man. The fat man laughed, and Naruto clenched his fist. Free her, he shouted. Angry. Mom! Zoiner sobbed, and the fat man laughed. Do you hear that, Obio? The boy. He loves his mother. The fat man chuckled as he mocked Inari. Hee, it's not right to make fun of her. The children, you're supposed to kill them. Oh, shouted gleefully Naruto. He roared, spun around, and threw the kunai at the 2 men, who easily dodged it. He fell to the ground with. There was a metallic clang behind them, and they burst into laughter. We're supposed to be afraid of you, aren't we? Ji laughed and Naruto smiled smugly. Yeah, sort of. With that, the kunai disappeared and was replaced by the real Naruto, who pounced on the 2 men. Naruto jumped off the back of the fat and grabbed Cinnamon, who was flying by. Gigi couldn't react, and Naruto landed on his feet and slid away. He backed up a few meters, carrying Tsunami in his arms like a bride. You little bastard! Obio shouted and lunged at her. Naruto. Kaijin no Jutsu. 4 Naruto clones launched themselves at Obio at full speed. The first one jumped and kicked him in the face, making him spin in a circle. The second clone punched him in the stomach with a knee strike, sending him flying. The third Naruto landed on his leg, impacting the back of man. Obio flew to the ground, where Naruto's last clone smiled maliciously as he raised his fist. Oh, growled at. To be struck by the clone, Naruto's gaze shifted to Gigi as the man pulled a giant club from his back. The clones rushed towards him, but after taking several hits, he managed to destroy them and proceeded to run towards Naruto, who gently lowered Tsunami and assumed a fighting stance. Said, I'm going to kill you and your little friends, kid. Bastard! Roared the giant. He was standing right in front of Naruto and brandished his club. Towards him, the blonde dodged to the side, and as he crashed to the ground, 1 foot. It hit him in the face, sending him tumbling to the side. Naruto groaned as he got to his feet and saw Ji running towards him again. He pulled out another kunai and ran towards him as well. They collided, and Naruto put all his strength into preventing the club from hitting him. It'll destroy his face. Gigi laughed sadistically as he pressed his weapon harder. Naruto jumped aside, thinking. He dodged the club, but Ji quickly spun him around and struck him in the chest. It sent him rolling headfirst into Who recovered and slipped. That brat's next, Ji shouted and ran towards Naruto, whose face became a cold mask. Naruto waited until Iji was right in front of him, and while the giant brandished his club at the blonde boy's head, bent down, raised his fist, and struck hard, Gigi gasped. When Naruto's fist landed on his groin, the giant dropped his club and fell to his knees. Naruto smiled. Don't underestimate me, he said, and delivered a roundhouse kick to Gigi's face, sending him sprawling to the side. Nissan, Naruto. He heard Inari scream and turned to see a new enemy, holding Inari in front of him with a sword. Pointing at his head, take one step and the boy will lose his mind, the man said grimly as he stared at Naruto. Nan, help! Inari shouted, and Naruto frowned. Inari, you can't be a ninja and use cool techniques like kawarimi if you're going to cry, Naruto said, looking at Inari with attention. Inari was horrified by Naruto's words until she understood what he really meant. Nien. He wants me to use the kawarini, the boy thought, and slowly clasped his hands together without the man who held him captive noticing. He seemed to realize it. Fine, I won't take a step